friends, welcome to your Friday math lesson. So for the last few lessons, we've been talking about different types of triangles, how to label the different types of triangles based off of their sides as well as their angles. So for example, we had a right angle triangle, we had acute angle triangles, we had obtuse angle triangles, and we had right, acute, and obtuse angle triangles. We also talked about the different types of triangles like isosceles, scalene, and equilateral. In this lesson, we are talking about classifying polygons by the number of sides and number of angles. So what it looks like is, how many different shapes can you name that have 3 sides and 3 angles? So you have to have 3 sides and 3 angles. Well, when you think of a 3-sided shape, you think of a triangle. Does a triangle have 3 angles? Well, you look at the corners, 1, 2, 3. So it has 3 sides and 3 angles. So a triangle fits in with this description. How about something a little bit more tricky? Think of how many different shapes can you name that have 4 sides and 4 angles? But here's the thing. They have to have 4 sides and 4 angles. So if you came up with a really wacky shape, this is not an example, but if you came up with a really wacky shape, you have to pay attention to how many angles this shape has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to name shapes that have the same amount of angles and sides. So how many 4-sided shapes can you think of that have 4 angles? Well, the obvious ones are squares, because it has 4 sides and 4 angles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have rectangles. 1, 2, 3, 4. What are some other 4-sided shapes that we know about? Well, we know about parallelograms. That has 4 sides, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. There is a trapezoid, which has 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. So in terms of 4-sided shapes with 4 angles, there's a ton of shapes out there that we can think of. How about shapes that have way more sides? Well, that's where it can get a little bit tricky, and that's also where you get a little bit more creative with the types of shapes. So let's think of an 8-sided shape. So it's 8 sides and 8 angles. Well, when you think of an 8-sided shape, a lot of you think of a octagon. So let's draw one out and see how many angles we can find. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this shape works. How about just a random 8-sided shape? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is our crazy 8-sided shape that we made up. Let's count how many angles it has. 1, 2, 3, 4, because this is just a really big angle. 5, 6, 7, 8. Is there any more angles in there? Nope, I don't see any on the inside of the shape. So what would you call this shape? You would just call it an 8-sided polygon. But what we are trying to do with this math today is you're trying to come up with shapes that have the same amount of sides and angles. It's pretty easy to do because a lot of shapes that have that many sides tend to have the same amount of angles. Because when 2 different lines come together, they form an angle. And usually that many sides, so let's say this is a 6-sided shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. I got 6 angles. You're only looking at the inside of the shape. So that's why it can get a little bit wacky, but that's also why you're trying to figure out shapes that would have so many sides, so many different angles inside of them. However, let's say I came up with a shape like this. Well, this is a single shape. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides because I only did 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines. How many angles does it have though? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 angles. So this shape right here wouldn't work. The reason I explain this is because when you have so many sided shapes, if the lines cross over each other, as in, let's say I'm going to do another 8-sided shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a really wacky shape, but it only has 8 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 has way more than 8 angles. So when you're drawing these kinds of shapes, you're classifying these types of shapes, usually they have to be open, as in you can draw whatever lines you like, but the lines can't cross over one another. So then you are trying to have the same number of angles as you would sides. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-sided shape. So we have 13 sides. Let's find out how many angles we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. See, that's how we know it works, because there's no lines crossing over each other, so it didn't create more angles than we can do. So your job for today is you're going to have a sheet that's going to lists that says that you would list, or you can draw shapes that have the same amount of sides and angles. So it's going to say 4 sides, 4 angles, 5 sides, 5 angles, 6 sides, 6 angles. And it's going to ask you to name the shapes. So think about your names of shapes. You have square, triangle, pentagon, hexagon, octagon, and so many different others that I'm trying to think of. If you're ever confused about the names, look them up online if possible. So look up the name of like a 7-sided shape or an 8-sided shape, 9-sided shape, what have you, just because I don't expect you to remember those names off the top of your head. So you can actually look up the names online, so would you like, but you're going to try to name the different shapes, or as many different shapes as you can in that category. So for example, when we had 4 sides and 4 angles, we came up with at least 4 different examples. We had a square, we had a rectangle, we had a pentagon, and we had a trapezoid. So you're trying to come up with as many different types of shapes that fit into that category for the number of sides and the number of angles. You need to make sure though that there's the same amount of sides as there are angles. So as a simpler example than what I've drawn over here, let's do one more. We're going to draw it's going to have 6 sides and it needs to have 6 angles. So immediately when you think of a 6-sided shape, you think of a hexagon. So let's try that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there same amount of sides and angles? Yes, so this shape works. So we have a hexagon. let's just try a random 6-sided shape. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oops. So we have 6 sides. How many angles do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this shape works because we have 6 sides and 6 angles. So those angles are basically your corners. However, sometimes you have angles that look like this, depending on the shape. So even these really big angles still count as an angle. They're just a bigger angle. But they go around this kind of a corner. You have to make sure you're counting the insides of the shape, because if I counted this part instead of this, that would be incorrect. You have to count the inside angle, even if it's a big wide one. But that's going to be your work today, is you're going to try to classify the different types of shapes, or name the different types of shapes that have the same amount of angles and sides. All right, and starting Monday, we're going to go a little bit back into triangles, but not but it's not going to be too crazy. But for now, we're going to work on shapes, classifying shapes, and sorting shapes. All right. Let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And I hope you guys enjoy yourselves, and I will see you on Monday.